First it was the spy balloons, then it was green lasers from satellites, and now a UFO. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Now what we're talking about here isn't just some stuff going on in the sky. There's a lot happening right now. Geopolitical tensions are off the charts, and this is extremely important for the economy. You're looking at the potential for war, of course, the stock market, jobs, everything is at stake. So I'm going to bring you that information right here, right now. Let's cover this. You probably heard about the whole balloons thing. I did 2 videos about it, just to highlight the fact that what's happening between China and the US is continuing to deteriorate. And now the US sanctions 6 tech companies for supporting spy balloon programs. Okay, that's it. But let me show you this. If you can see it on your screen, on January 28th, this particular camera, this is, by the way, up in Hawaii on the Mauna Kea, basically the tallest mountain, and they observed this. Green lasers, they're going like in this, pattern. I mean, it's just strange. If you could watch the video, links are in the description. The lights are thought to be from a remote sensing altimeter satellite, ICE-SAT-2 43613. Okay, now we have this. Again, links are in the description, and it's just weird. It's really, really strange. It's clearly not like, the northern lights. It's not a natural phenomenon. This is coming from some sort of technology. And they are saying, we have no evidence, as far as I'm aware, to say that it is from China, but they're basically suggesting that this is where it's coming from. So I want to make it clear. I don't know that that's what this is, and we really don't. Nobody seems to know, but that's the expectation. That's what they're saying. Really strange stuff. They see it from the observatory up on the tallest mountain in Hawaii, and they're looking at this weird aerial phenomena, green lasers potentially coming from these satellites. Okay, that's crazy. Mysterious green lasers over Hawaii were likely from a Chinese satellite. You could see that. I mean, you got the balloons, then you got the green lasers. Everybody's wondering, okay, things are getting real freaky right now. There's like some sort of science fiction movie. What the heck is going on? But that wasn't enough. We'll get into that in just a second, okay? Because we got to take it one step further. U.S. jet shoots down unknown object flying off Alaska coast. This is not the balloons. This is not the laser thing. This is another thing. And it's funny, it says unknown object that's flying. Well, you call those unidentified flying objects, but I like the way they worded it because they don't want to freak anybody out. So it's up 40,000 feet in the air, saying that it posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flights, not because of any knowledge it was engaged in surveillance. Asked about the object's downing, Biden said Friday it was a success. That's it. That's the information they're going to give. Obviously, they're not going to release information that they don't have, or maybe they don't, want to give out at this time, because who knows what it was. Well, you can see Arctic Ocean recovery begins for cylindrical, high-altitude, unidentified object with no observable surveillance equipment shot down over Alaska by a Sidewinder missile. Pentagon admits it doesn't know who the mysterious object the size of a car belongs to. This is strange stuff. Now, this is the point in which I need to say a few things. If you've been noticing, just let's take it back 10 years ago. How often did you hear about a declassified UFO document and, Army pilots coming out and saying, I saw this and I saw that? Very, very rarely. It was all speculation. This doesn't exist. That's a conspiracy. What are you talking about? And now, like every week, it's so, I don't click on them. It's so often. And Army pilot says this, Army pilot found that, declassified document here, constantly coming out. Something is so strange. They went from, pretending it doesn't exist to just letting it all go. And now something the size of a car was flying around, and I'll get into more details about it, but they just shot it down. Another thing that was very unusual when I was thinking about this was that I understand they were saying it poses a threat, but let's just say this thing is from another planet, okay? Is the first thing that you do just to blow it up? I mean, that's kind of probably pretty dangerous. I mean, if that belonged to somebody else and there was, something else on board, suddenly you blew that up, that's unusual. Now, I don't know what's going on. Of course, they had a reasonable reason to do this, I'm sure. But I was just thinking, in the sort of that sci-fi movie kind of feel, they send out a ship to make friends and you blow it up, they're going to be coming back pretty angry. I don't know. That's just the way I was thinking about it. Here we go. Unlike the balloon shot down on Saturday, the latest object did not appear to possess any maneuverability. That's weird, right? Anyway, last week's spy balloon was the size of 3 school buses, a sophisticated surveillance craft with propellers that gave it maneuverability. The balloon carried a payload the size of a jetliner. So you could see, different, very different. But this time, it looks like they downed it near Alaska, didn't wait for this thing to move all the way across Canada and down through the US, and then it gets off South Carolina, then they took it down. Very different. They're saying it is physically a different thing. Did it come from the same place? We really don't know. Quote, we are calling this an object because that's the best description we have right now. We don't know who owns it, whether it's state-owned or corporate-owned or privately owned, we just don't know. The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight because that's where their commercial aircraft is flying. It's flying around that 40,000 foot. Out of the abundance of caution and at the recommendation of the Pentagon, there was an order for the military to take it down, okay? Now you see that I think this is very unusual. You don't hear this type of stuff happening, and yet here we are. Then we have this, completely unrelated, but I wanted to include it in case this is brought together. I'm recording this probably, let's say 24 hours prior to you watching it. So, photograph taken by Spanish Air Defense, Combate Grande. And you could see it's something like really out of a movie. There's no aircraft I've seen that looks like that. Is this the same thing? I don't know. But here it is. There's an image. We'll see. It might be nothing, but I wanted to include it here for you. Now we look at something else. An aspect related to the Nordstream pipeline. If you remember, Nordstream pipeline, first Nord Stream 2, let's talk about that. They're ready with this Nord Stream 2. It's going to supply Europe with all this gas. That's going to be Russia to Europe. That would be good relations between the two. And of course, it's bringing that cheap energy to places like Germany and the rest of Europe. However, right at the last second, Germany says, no, not going to do Nord Stream 2. Like literally 2 weeks later, Russia says, okay, we're going to do the special military operation on Ukraine. I found the timing to be interesting. That was Nord Stream 2. Nord Stream 1, at some point, there was this major explosion, takes it down. Now you have no flows from this new pipeline, Nord Stream 2, that they really did need. They did need. And Nord Stream 1 is taken out. So Europe basically doesn't have a way to fill up its supplies. So that was big. The thought here was, who took this down? Where was the sabotage coming from? Why did this happen? Is it Russia that did it? Is it Ukraine that did it? Is it NATO that did it? Is it US? Who did it? Was it a natural event? There's a lot of speculation. Well, now I want to show you this. If the report of the investigative journalist Seymour Hersh on Washington's involvement in the explosions at Nord Stream is true, then the US should explain itself to the world community, according to the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman. On Wednesday, Hersh, a Pulitzer Prize winner, published a report saying that US Navy divers during NATO Baltops exercises in the summer of 2022 planted explosives to destroy the Nord Stream pipelines, which Norway activated 3 months later. Now, you've got to read the report for yourself if you're interested. I don't know if this is true. I wasn't there, I can't validate it, but I can bring it to you and just highlight the fact that this has some very serious economic consequences. We've got to look at this. Geopolitical tensions already so hot. Imagine if this is found out to be the case because of some other investigations. Look, Kremlin reacts to Nordstream sabotage claim. A fresh article alleging a US role in the explosions highlights the need for an international probe. That's the Kremlin's press secretary. Will that happen? We will see. Crisis for Germany and the US. AfD party, this is in Germany, calls for investigation after bombshell report details how US allegedly blew up the Nord Stream pipelines. So there is a potential here for an actual investigation to be done. Who knows what will happen with it, but this is what we're seeing right now. I think it's worrisome. I think it is concerning, to say the least, because you can look at it for one reason or another and realize that this could be one of those events that really escalates things. Oil price can suddenly skyrocket. We could have inflation coming from one side because, oh no, where all these different commodities are starting to be restricted, and we go into the same thing that happened back in, basically beginning of 2022 for virtually the same reasons. So we have a worry here. Pay attention closely to it. Hopefully your businesses do not rely on any of these one things. That's why it's important to diversify. I talk about that all the time, as well as becoming self-sufficient. I talk about the pillars of prosperity, and that's important because the pillars of prosperity are essentially to have additional income and to diversify that income. I'll do a video about that specifically. And the second thing is to be self-sufficient, or more self-sufficient than you are right now by, anything you could do. Off the grid living would be one aspect, but some people keep chickens in their backyard. Some people grow a backyard garden. Some people have solar panels. Some people have geothermal, all of these different things. This is essential right now more than ever before. I send this message out to you, and most people are out there just saying, hey, I just want to be told to buy the Tesla stock and to invest in whatever the next Tesla is and that kind of stuff. It's great to get the clicks, but ultimately there's a lot more going on in the world. And I thank you for being here to the end of the video. I truly appreciate that, to spend your time with me. If you found it informative, definitely go down, hit that subscribe button, and each and every day I'll bring you the details you need to know. But you have got to check the channel. You've got to come back to the channel because it's likely that you will not be notified and these videos will not make it into your home feed. So please do yourself a favor, do me a favor, go in, type the Money GPS, and you'll find me. That's the only way to get these videos. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.